Welcome everybody to today's session. Saulo and team, the team from Alumni Group, have requested me to speak to you guys about staying focused during challenging time. And indeed, we are in challenging time. This is a time of COVID-19. Who knows? Who could have said that we would all be locked in our houses? At least now, for me, it's been 5 good weeks. Now, this time, obviously, it requires some sort of focus. It requires some sort of ways of doing things, which is traditional, not how we do things. As I was just saying yesterday, I was commenting to somebody that I don't think I have gotten outside of my 1 kilometer radius. And this is very unfortunate. And we have to, at the same time, to show up for the game. And indeed, the A game, despite the fact that we are all in these lockdowns, we are all in social distancing, we are not greeting one another with our hands. And truly, these are challenging times. But I in regards to who Edward Mungai is, for those who do not know me, well, if you want to get more information, I don't want to waste time talking about that, but you can go to edwardmungai.com. You will be able to find quite a bit of information there, some which will be useful, some which will be just for fun, and hopefully then we can be able to connect and we can be able to be sharing our journeys, because I totally believe that we are all can be inspired to leadership, and all we have the potential to show up our A game and to be extraordinary, because that is the point. And truly, as I said, we have this COVID-19, and I tell you, my friends, it is going to change the way we do things. Already it have changed the way we are doing things. Normally this session, we would have done it probably with some nice wine arranged by the Alumni Group and things like that at SBS. But now here we are, and we are doing it online, and this is the new normal for sure. And we must be able to cope with this new normal going forward. And my takeaway is that today I want to talk to you about 3 things. First of all, I think I'll talk to you about 3 big ideas. And these 3 big ideas are things that I truly believe that we all require to have in our lives now. One is about vibrancy, and I'll come back to these 3 things in more details. It's about being vibrant. The second issue is about the connections that we are making, and we need to be connected, and connected in different things. The third thing that I want to talk to you about is about meaning, and our lives must have some meaning, irrespective of what's going around us, COVID-19 or no COVID-19, my friends, is about, one is about, we are talking about you having vibrancy, we are talking about you having connections, we are talking about you having meaning, and I'll come back to this in a short while. The second big thing that I want to talk to you about, guys, and this is something that I've been preaching. Thank you, Anita, for saying an evangelist. My game is to change or to transform 50 million people in the continent of Africa by the year 2027. And indeed, for me to be able to do that, one of the concepts that I've been talking about and I've been evangelizing about is that we need a life which is balanced. And I tell you, this is even more important when we are in these COVID-19 issues, as I call them. Now, you need the 9 domain areas which will steer you through your life. Those 9 domain areas, very quickly talking about them, and by the way, they are in order of importance. And this is what really, they are the needle mover in terms of your life. We are talking about your spirituality, and I'll come back to this in a short while. We are talking about your physical fitness. How fit are you? We are talking about inner health. Are you one of those guys who are always negative? My friend, if you become negative during this time, it is very unfortunate. So it's about remaining positive. The second or the third or the fourth thing actually that I want to talk to you about is about our families and how they are connected. And remember, by the way, I said this is in order of importance. So spirituality is the most important one. We are talking about your inner health is the second most important one. We are talking about we are talking about physical fitness as the second, inner health as the third one, and we are talking about your family as the fourth one. Number 5 is about your career and where you want to take that to. Number 6 is about finances. Please note, finances is only number 6. Many of us will say finances should be number 1 or 2, but I tell you, it's just a means. is not the end. So it becomes number 6. Number 7 is your circle of genius, and these you are connections. We'll come back to connections. Number 8 is about adventure. You must have some fun, because for you to be able to cope in these difficult times, for sure you need to have some adventure. The last thing that I want to talk to you about within these 9 domain areas is what I call impact. And impact, in a very simple way, is, and the way I put it is, who will cry when you die? How have you changed the world? What is it that you have done to this world to make it a better place? Please note, when you are born, everybody around you cried. Well, everybody around you smiled because you came to this world. But what happened to you? You'll note that you cried. And if you didn't do that, then it was supposed to be a challenge. But when you die, my friends, and I'm asking you that, can you be the one to rejoice and the rest of the people to cry? Why? Because of the difference that you have already made into this world. So that is the second area that I want to go into, which is the 9 domain areas. And finally, I want to get into another area which I call the 5 daily routines or habits that will make you exceptional performer, or to have what I call having an exceptional performance experience. Now, to be able to achieve that, you need 5 things. Number 1 is that you must have some clarity in your life, in your goals, in whatever you do. It must be extremely clear, and more so during these difficult times. The second thing that you must also be able to do, my friends, is about visualization. Ladies and gentlemen, you need to have a visual emblem of what is it that you want to achieve. And I share some jokes, some of the things that I've done in my life, and hopefully they will inspire you and you can be able to put them into your life. The third thing that I want to talk to you about is what I call PQO, prolific quality output. This is the time we can only be able to focus on what is prolific, and I mean in terms of quality, in terms of our output. And we must spend at the minimum 60% of our time doing things which are going to give us prolific quality output, and things which will change our lives, things which are needle movers in our life. We must be able to do that. And finally, the second last is routines. You know, my kids, and I have many, they keep on telling me that one of the biggest problems with dad is that he has so many routines, and those routines are kind of followed on an hourly basis. And therefore, I end up becoming the most boring person to them. Well, there's a reason why when you go to Strathmore, I believe you went to Strathmore, one of the things they gave you after orientation was a timetable. Well, can you imagine Strathmore without timetables? Can you imagine Kenya breweries working, making those beers without a standard procedure? Well, it's all about effectiveness, it's about efficiency. So in our lives, we must be moved by what I call routines. And I'll be able to share with you a couple of routines that you should be able to put into your life, and which hopefully would make a difference in your life, and especially during this time. And the last thing that I want to talk about in that category of the habits is about being consistent and having the discipline. The discipline of saying, I'm not going to watch TV, which is just about 45 seconds from here, and saying, I will sit and work for the next 3 hours before I get there. So friends, ladies and gentlemen, those are my 3 big ideas, 3 big areas that I want to take you during this journey, and I hope that we will all be excited. Now, let's go back to this business of 3 big ideas. The first one that I talked about is really about vibrancy. How can we be vibrant? Well, this time that we are facing now, we need to generate some energy. You know, I tell people there's something called a power plant. You have seen one. Now, power plant doesn't have energy. What it does, it generates energy. So we as people, for us to be able to survive during this period, we definitely need to generate energy. We need to have that energy, and it must be positive energy. Because the moment we start emitting negative energy, my friends, it will be with us. So my call to action for all of us is that let's try and see how we can be intentional. Let's see how we can be able to craft our lives so that we can be able to show that positivity, to be generating that positive energy. And remember, once you put in positive energy, what normally happens is that it becomes contagious, and it also helps you to become even better in terms of your productivity. So the question is, how do you do this? Now, I've been sitting here probably for the last 7 hours, but then for that, then I can remain focused. One of the key things that I have got to do is every 50 minutes, I have to go out for 10 minutes and then come back to my craft. So, and that gives me a lot of energy. It gives me a lot of refresher. So as you work from home, because I believe many of us are working from home, my call to action is that have what we call pit stop. Now, can you imagine what would happen if these racing cars, they didn't, or they skipped the pit stops? Now, what you do is that when you work for 2 hours continuously, is that you are avoiding that pit stop. And what is it going to happen? Is that in the 3rd hour, in the 4th hour, you are going to crash. So my call to you guys is that let's have some pit stops within our lives. Every 50 minutes, please take a walk, make a cup of coffee, make a cup of tea, and please don't take it with sugar. Because once you take it with sugar, it will be a lot of calories in the course of the day. And imagine you're working for eight hours in a day, then those will be too many spoons of sugar. My take is that, and remember we talked about physical health, which is very critical. So my take to you guys is that let's try to see how vibrant we can be. To be vibrant, we must be very clear exactly what we want to achieve in our lives. And that's where the 9 domain areas comes, because those 9 domain areas, and we will repeat them, is where now you can be able to reestablish and say, these are the 9 things that matters in my life. In each one of the 9 areas, what is the goals that I want to achieve in each one of them? And then that happens to be the one which will drive you. There's a concept that I teach people called journaling. And journaling is where you sit and download your aspirations, you download your fears, you download your thoughts. This is a way of also generating energy for you. So the moment you have that clarity of what are the challenges in your life, what are the issues that you are facing, these are the things that will help you to achieve that particular vibrancy component. And I tell you, we cannot be able to survive this COVID-19 if we do not become vibrant. So please look into your life, see which things give you energy, and especially positive energy. If it's about reading books, it's about exercising, do those things. It's about this pit stop I'm talking about. Do those things, and hopefully then they can be able to give you the energy that you require to be able to push to the next level. The second thing, the second big idea that I want to talk about is about connections. Now, you might be asking, connections with what? First of all, is connection with yourself. We need to connect with ourselves. And this, as I said, one of the concepts that I teach is journaling. You need to keep that journal, keeping your thoughts, keeping your fears, keeping your beliefs, and every morning checking on them. And as life continues, as the day continues, you keep on jotting things. And this is a way that you will be connected with yourself. You know, I tell people, if there was something that I was to make a lot of money with, is to teach people how to discover their purpose in this world. Now, there's no way somebody can tell you what your purpose is. You have to discover it yourself. And how do you discover it yourself? Is by connecting with yourself. So take the time, spend at least half an hour calling yourself for this meeting. And by yourself, you're talking to yourself and saying, this is what I want to achieve in life. These are the things that I want to go for, and look at the cons, the pros, and all that, and assess it. This is connecting with yourself. But more importantly, also, you have to be connected with others. Connection with others, whether it is your spouse, whether it's your family members, whether it's your parents, especially during this time. You need to take that phone and make SMSs, make WhatsApp messages, call people. Because we must remain connected despite the challenges that we are facing. The third connection that I want you guys to make, and really very important, is also to connect with your maker. You know, I tell people the word joy really means something very interesting. And it's about you connecting with Jesus as the first thing, you connecting with others, and finally, yourself. So it's kind of the connection, and that's the order of priority. First, connect with your spirituality. You must be connected with your maker. The second thing, you must be connected with others to be able to generate joy and to be able to have that happiness.
The third thing that you need to do is, as I just explained, is connecting with yourself, which gives you what I call, well, that journaling will help you to really see and to know who are you. And that is the way to be able to achieve that. The second or the third thing that you need to be connected with, my friends, is about your craft, your work. Unfortunately, we are not connecting too much with our work. We are just there doing what is required, and we don't even sometimes ask ourselves, why is it needed? And where is it taking me? Where is it taking my organization? We must be connected with our crafts. We must be connected with our careers. And if we are going to succeed, it can only be through that we get to be connected with what is that we are doing on our daily lives. Yeah, so that's in regards to connection. And this connection, remember, go for it. Nobody will connect you with others. Of course, you have also to be connected with friends and networks, and they work wonders. I normally tell people, and it's also about the circle of genius I talked as number 7, which you need to reestablish within your domain areas. I tell people, you become your friends, you become your networks. So those people that you're associating with, of course, it's very critical that you be connected with them and in a good way. And that's why the phone matters. That's why the SMS matters. That's why that email that you haven't replied is very critical, because then you can be connected with it. Finally, the last big idea within those 3 big ideas is about meaning. And meaning is that we are showing up in the world. We must be able to have life of a meaning. So what is yours? Do you know what difference you are making to this world? This is more even called for, especially during this time, because it's critical that we have the meaning of our lives. Remember, I talked about the last domain area, which is number 9. It was about impact. The question is, when this life comes to an end, we will be asked 3 questions. Did I live? Did I love? And did I matter? So what will be your answer? And this is about that fact about meaning. Unfortunately, we live our lives without meaning. And not only until when we get to 35 to 40 is when we realize, well, time is coming to an end. And we start panicking. And when you work in panicking mode, it doesn't take us anywhere. But I'm also not saying that if you are 50 or 60 years, there's still time. There's a possibility that we can be able to overcome and be able to move to the next level. And the next level, as I said, is exceptional performance experience, because that's what matters. Now, I've talked about the 3 big areas. If probably you have joined us now, the 3 big areas that I talked about is that we must be vibrant. We must be connected. And finally, we must live a life of meaning. Now, allow me now to move into my 9 domain areas. And clearly, this is one of my flagship, where I try to see what is success. If I ask you, define success to me, success is not the money that you have in the bank. Well, for some of us, it's probably the money in the bank. For others, it's about how well have I climbed that career or professional ladder within my organization. For others, it's about friends. But I want to tell you this afternoon, friends, that it's about 9 areas. And these are the 9 domain areas that we should always try to achieve and to make them in balance. Number 1, and the most very important one, is your spirituality. So how is your relationship with the one who made you? Well, you know, I keep on telling people that in life, you have 3 priorities only. And those 3 priorities must be in the same order. This is about God, it's about your family, and it's about work. You try to put God as number 3, which is your spirituality, my friends, you don't hack it. That stool will not balance. So it must always start with God. It's about your family, and it's about work. And work could be all these other things that we are talking about. Your family, if you are not married, if you are single, is your parents or your future family, you know, because that also matters. And we must be able to make it balance. And that, therefore, that's why for me is very critical that I say that God comes first. My spirituality comes first. And man is brutal. It's brutal in the sense that there's so many temptations in this world. There's so many challenges, but we must be able to keep our pin centered. And if you keep it centered, remember, we are work of God. We are indeed work of God. God created us. And it's also true that whatever we do is work for God. So if you wrap that within your brain, you'll be able to see that whatever you are doing will really take you to the next level. Don't just take it as work. You are working for God because you are work of God. And indeed, that's why it is very critical that in life, your spirituality must be very important. So the question is, how much time are you spending to improve your spirituality? You know, I tell people in a very simple way, when we go to church, we are told, or when we read the Bible, or when we read the scriptures, we are told that we must always give 10%, which is called in another name, a tithe. So how much of your time, other than the resources, how much of your time are you giving to God every day? Well, quick calculation there tells you about 2.5 hours, because that's what 10% is about. How much are you giving? And you know, the challenge is that people think that once I spend too much time speaking to God or doing God things, I'm losing out. Well, I said it's work of God, and it is working for God. So if you give him that time, you will be able to see even more results coming to you, irrespective whether you have hived off those 2 hours for the purposes of that. So please, how much are you reading in terms of your gospel? How much are you spending meditating on the word of God? How much are you spending praying even for the coronavirus to disappear, you know? All these are very critical. And even your work and dedicating your work to God is also part of that prayer. So guys, this is the first domain area that we must be able to strengthen, and we must be able to set our goals towards that. Of course, my simple goal in regards to that is really, no matter what, heaven is a must. So what is your goal? Please go and set a goal in terms of your spirituality. Well, the second thing is about, and very important, is about your physical health. Please note, your physical health comes as number 2, even before your family, even before money. Because I tell people, the crown that people or sick people will always see a crown on a healthy person. Until you get sick is when you realize that health matters. And please note, if you lose your health, you have lost everything. And it's true. How much time are you spending to exercise every day? Now, this is even typical during this time. There are a chance that we'll be sitting too much. There is also a chance that we'll be eating too much. So the question is, what exercise are you doing? Are you moving? It doesn't matter what exercise it is. It could be jumping jacks. It could be running. It could be football. It could be, well, and you are doing football in your compound if you are fortunate to have a compound, or if that is not the case, you have a skipping rope. And all these things will all end up helping you to become more healthy. Well, my goal, irrespective of coronavirus, for 2020 is to run 2,500 kilometers. This is month 3. I probably am on something like 400 kilometers, guys. And it will happen. It will happen. Even more during coronavirus is when I need it. And I must say that every day for 6 days in a week, I do 10 kilometers. And it's possible. And this is a story for another day. It's actually a thesis that I teach people. 7 years ago, I couldn't be able to run 100 meters. But today, I can be able to run continuously for 50 kilometers, for 60 kilometers. It doesn't matter. And I've done more than 20 marathons. You can see that on my website. But the truth of the matter, it is possible. It is possible for all of us that we can be able to pick up something and we can be able to move with it. So guys, during this time, you need to generate that energy. And one way of generating that energy, as I said, is about exercising and being healthy. The third point is about your inner health. This I can't really overemphasize. Is about positivity, is about radiating positivity in your life, is more about that vibrancy. These circumstances don't require any gloomy people. Otherwise, we get into depression. So let's get in things that will give us that positive energy. Let's come out of this thing very strong. Let's be extraordinary. So please take care of your inner health and figure out how you can be able to radiate that energy. May it be exercise, may it be you getting a new skill during this time, because all this is what will matter. Well, number 4 And very important is about your family. Remember, when everybody else will be gone, the only people who will be around you is your family. So how are you treating them? How are you treating your wife if you've got one? If you're a husband, how are you treating your wife? If you've got kids, how is that? Are you having some good time? Are you praying together? Spirituality wise, how is that? How is that family? If it is your parents, how are you dealing with them, my friends? Because remember, as I said, everything else will go. The only people who will be with you is your family. And indeed, I was making a joke the other day with my wife, and we were saying, well, this coronavirus is also teaching us some things. One of the things that is teaching us is to tell us that, well, this is how retirement will be. And indeed, you better now start planning for that retirement, because life will be very difficult if you are not very close to your family, and especially your wife, your kids. So it's also a good time to start building that relationship and ensuring that truly you have a good relationship with them. Because remember, as I said, when everything else is gone, this will be the people who will be with you. And it doesn't matter. It's your parents, it's your spouses, it's your siblings. Please be the best. Show up strong. In fact, this is what I show up strong for them. Well, the next thing that I was to talk about within the 9 domain areas is your careers. This is the most important, and well, not the most important, but the time that we can be able to build our careers. Well, some people are asking me, how do you do that? Well, apparently for me, it's been very productive time. In fact, I'm just encouraging people in my office that every week we'll have 2-3 days working from home. Why? Because there's no distractions. And remember, University College London is telling us there's 160 distractions in a day. Now, if you can reduce those to about 10%, to about 16 distractions, like now you could hear my son knocking the door. I hope you heard that. You know, that's a distraction to some extent to this call. But we in a day have 160 distractions. If you can keep those down, then you become even more productive. So as we grow our careers, let's take this time, for instance, to teach ourselves to write good articles. Because there's that possibility. There's a lot of teaching going on YouTube, on various places. You can be able to teach you a skill. And I tell you, I'm baking. I'm trying to teach myself how to bake. And I tell you, I'll come out strong and I'll be a baker. So what is it that you're doing, guys? I saw something taking rounds within WhatsApp saying that within this time, if you don't come out with a skill, you will have wasted the opportunity. So figure it out. Figure it out. What is it that you want to do for your career? Well, my cooking, my baking is fun, is adventure. But also in my career, I'm trying to teach myself how even to write better. Correct? So there are many things that you can be able to teach yourself. And this way, you'll come out of this crisis probably a better person. The other area that I want to talk about, we are talking about career, is obviously finances. And the misconception is that finances are always the end. How big is my balance sheet? How big is my net worth? How much money do I have in a bank account? Please note, money is just an enabler. It doesn't mean anything. We need it to help us to achieve some things, but really it's not the focus. Well, as you can see from my name, Edward Mungai, from where I come from, well, quite a bit of men value this thing. But unfortunately, as you can see, it have messed up big time. So money is only number 6. And please take it from that perspective. I'm not saying it is not important. You should even have a goal saying how much you want to grow your net worth. But these other 5 things that I talked about comes before it. Comes before it. It's about your family. It's not about coming home saying I've been making deals overnight, you know. This is the excuse that we give ourselves. Family comes first. Number 8 or number 7, we are talking about adventure. Well, circle of genius. Sorry, it's not about adventure, it's circle of genius. It's about your connections. And to put it in a very simple way, you become your friends. I take your salary. Well, I take your friends, 5 of them. I check how much salary they earn. I divide that by 5. And believe it or not, that is your salary. So what am I saying? Choose your friends in the right way. Choose your networks in the right way. Networks works. Don't shrink. If you want to be mentored by Edward Mungai, please do not shrink, because there is what I call power of asking. It's power of connectivity. Go for it. Don't shrink to create that network. The network will not come looking for you guys. You have to create these networks. And even during this time, I think is when we can be able even to make more networks. Like what we have seen over time is that physical contact now is not necessarily important. In fact, we like it this way, because I can work with my pajamas. Hopefully today I'm not in my pajamas. I can be able, when I'm going to my dining table, is 45 seconds from here, you know? And what does that do? It creates more time for me. Time when I can be able to produce and help people, because it's about life of meaning. Remember your third principle, third big idea was about meaning. How different, what difference are you making in life? So that's about adventure. It's about the circle of genius. Do you have a mastermind group? And what is a mastermind group? People are asking, what is that? It's actually a board that helps you to steer through your challenges. So have 6 or 7 people who you trust and who you can be vulnerable to, and put your ideas to them. Meet once a month, discuss, and be open to one another. Well, this is also another flagship. One thing that I preach, that each and every one of us must have a mastermind group. And it can be virtual. It doesn't need to be physical. It can be virtual. Well, the next thing is about adventure. And truly, this is also the time to get adventure. You can't believe how I wait for 6 o'clock every day. Not to watch a movie, but to play games. Either football outside or even board games. And you know, the unfortunate thing, I'm always the last. I'm getting 3 cards all the time, you know, but I like it. It's fun. So guys, let's figure out what are these things we can be able to do with those loved ones that we have near us. What are the things which can be able to generate this energy into our lives so that we can get that adventure? And once all this is gone, please make sure that you're also trying to experiment things like going out dancing with your wife, going for salsa classes, visiting places. All these are elements of adventure, because really it's not just about work. And finally, guys, is what difference are you making to this world? Who will cry when you die? What difference are you making in this life? It is very critical. Remember, I told you there are 3 questions that you'll be asked at the end of the life. Did you live? Did you love? And did you matter? So in terms of impact, how charitable are you? And by the way, to be charitable, it's not about money, because this is also another misconception. Even taking that call and calling somebody is being charitable. Well, teaching in a primary school is charitable. You just need to give your time. If you have the money, contributing to money for families to buy something is also good. If you have workers in your house, and especially during these difficult times, giving them a couple of thousands for them to do something is also charitable. So charitability is not about the amount of money that you've got. It's also about the intention. So friends, those are the 9 domain areas. And my key objective here is to say, you must be able to have a balanced life. And if you can be able to balance all those 9 areas, then you will have arrived to that place called success. Because success is not about money. Success is not about how beautiful or how handsome your husband is. It's not about how much money you are making. It's not about how much many people you have helped. But it is all these things put together and becoming your net worth. And all these things coming together in a balanced way for you to have arrived to that place called success. Now, those were my 9 domain areas. Is a concept, as I say, that I try to evangelize quite a bit. And I even help people to assess it in their lives and to see probably how they can be able to push that forward. Now, I want to get into the last comment, or the last thing that I wanted to talk to you about, which is about the 5 daily habits that you need to arrive to exceptional. The first one, as I said before, is about clarity. Now, this is the most unfortunate thing, that we are not clear what we want. You know, I talked to you about that one way you can make a lot of money in this country, not only in Kenya, but globally, is by teaching how people to discover their purpose. That's about clarity. And clarity, my friends, doesn't come overnight. It doesn't come out of luck. It is all about deliberate effort, especially Now that you have so much time, no distractions, you can be able to sit with yourself with a journal and kind of go through the past, go through the present, think about the future, and hopefully you can be able to see something which will inspire you. And that will be your purpose. So, and that purpose need to be very clear, because unfortunately we are chasing too many things, which means we don't have focus. But the moment you have clarity of ideas, clarity of that, what you want in life, then you will easily succeed. So like if I ask, what are your goals, for instance, for this year? And are those goals based on a 10-year plan? Remember, for our companies, we are making a 5-year plan, 5-year strategic plan. So unless you have your own, what I call me-limited 5-year plan, you cannot be able to achieve. And that's the clarity that I'm asking for. So how clear is it within your life? Now, the second thing that you need to do, my friends, once you are clear what you want, is to visualize it. Now, this is where I make fun. This is why it is interesting. Because if you are not married and you are looking for a husband, do you have a picture of that ideal husband that you want? And stuck on a book or on a wall that you keep on looking at it every morning? If you want a job, do you have a painting of that company, of that job that you want? If you want to be physically fit, do you have a picture of Eliud Kipchoge packed somewhere and every day you look at it? Well, it's proven, my friends, that you must be able to wrap it in your brain through visualization for you to achieve it. It's about having a vision board. You know, kids, 5 years, 10 years, they are making vision boards. But as grown up, you don't have vision boards. So my call to action for you guys, especially during this time, is that you have to have a vision board which you look every day, and it gives you energy. It makes you want to move. You know, I'm telling you about some routines. I'm telling you about some sort of things that you should be able to put in your life. And mostly people ask me, and I'm sure I'll be asked this question here, is how do you actually change your life to get to this? Now, truly, and University College London have done this research. They say it takes 66 days. 66 days for you to acquire a new routine or a new habit. And I normally tell people a very simple example. When we were small kids, we were being forced to brush our teeth. Now today, you cannot even leave your house without it because it's a routine and it has been embedded in your system that you don't even notice it. For it to get there, you needed 66 days to go through that process. The first 22 days was what is called this deconstruction. You know, we have bad habits, checking on WhatsApp, watching TV, well, things like that, bad habits which are not adding any value to us. It takes 22 days for you to deconstruct those habits. Then it takes another 22 days for you to install the new habit into your life. And finally, it takes another 22 days for you now to integrate it and for it to become part of your life. What am I talking about? I normally wake up very early. I'm a morning person, as they say. And by the way, there's nothing like morning person. It's a habit that you develop, and with time, it comes in. So I normally wake up at 3 a.m., sometimes 2 a.m. But my wife, a couple of years, was not extremely happy with that, as you can imagine. Now, what happened is that she would once in a while, because I also did that, is to set the alarm for 2 a.m. What she used to do is before she sleeps, she switched off the alarm. But then when she wakes up, she finds, well, this guy is not here. What happened? I thought I switched off the alarm. But indeed, when it gets to 3 a.m., I wake up because it's a routine which has been inbuilt in my life. And this is because of the 66 days that I'm talking about. It is applies to running, it applies to everything. But I must tell you that it's very hard in the beginning. It's very messy in the middle, but it's gorgeous at the end once you have installed that habit. So, and that leads me to the third point within the habits that you should for exceptional performance, and is about having routines. This time requires us to have proper routines. I told you, when you went to Strathmore and you didn't get a timetable, it would have been crazy. If Kenya Breweries doesn't have those ISO certification for quality standardization, my friends, it will be crazy. What about your life? What standards do you have? Of course, you'll be labeled to be very boring. That's true. But then you'll become effective and you become efficient. And what does this routine means? Is specific waking time. I told you mine is 3 a.m. What do I do between 3 a.m. and 8 a.m.? Well, let's take today. Today, 3 to 4, I told you spirituality is key. From 3 to 4 is what is called holy hour. Holy hour is divided into 3 pieces, 20 minutes each. The first one is to read the gospel and to read a spiritual book. The second 20 minutes is about journaling and downloading the ideas that are in my head, the risks, the fears, all those. And the last 20 minutes is for me to grab something. It doesn't matter what it is. It's theology, it's psychology, it's physics, it's name it. It's climate change, and I read for 20 minutes. So that's my holy hour. Then the next 2 hours, that is between 4 to 5 and 5 to 6, I do productive things. Remember, I talked about you prolific quality output. That's the time I have to put either work from my things about my office or work on the project that I'm working on. And then from 6 to 7, my friends, I hit the road. It doesn't matter whether it was raining. Today, it was actually raining. I hit the road and I do my 10K. By 6:55, I'm back in the house and I'm showering. 7:15, we are all having breakfast with the family. And you know what? Whether it is Sunday, whether it's Monday, or which day it is, this is the routine. And the full day is planned out. And there is a specific journal where I plan that day on hour by hour basis. And this is what I'm calling routines, guys. And if you do it, remember I said in the first is hard, in the middle is messy, at the end is gorgeous. And it will take you to the exceptional that I'm talking about. Now, as you do your routines, critically, I told you that you must have this prolific quality output. In fact, you must be able to sort things that will change your life. Like, what am I talking about? Well, you might be working on your PhD, you might be working on your master's, is a matter of, or your bachelor's, is a matter of putting 2-3 hours within your plan, because that actually requires prolific quality output. You require to work hard on that. It's about your job. You must be able to plan about 5 to 6 hours about your job. It's about your family. You must be able to sort it there. And anything else which is not within that, you send it away. Remember, I'm saying 60% of your time should be used on this. But how do you send it away? You send it away by automation. You send it away by having others helping you to do it, either in the family or in your office. And delegating, because that is important. And finally, guys, the last point that I want to talk to you about is about consistency and discipline. Very critical that it must be consistent. The unfortunate thing and the big question, and I'm sure I'll get this question here, is how did you survive the first 10 days? With your procedures. That's about consistency. And remember, consistency is a virtue. You must keep on it. Whether it is showing some results or not, keep on pushing. I tell people, for you to see results, and I'm going to disappoint many of you, for you to start seeing results, it takes 7 years on that thing that you're working on. I know you have had to get to mastery, you require 10,000 hours. And what are we talking about? If you want to run a marathon and do it well, you require 10,000 hours of practice. If you want to be taking the best videos, it requires 10,000 hours. This is what I'm saying is not easy. It takes time. Unfortunately, our generation, we want instant gratifications. We want things in an instant way. It is not possible, my friends. It takes time. And that time is what we are asked to commit. So friends, that are my 5 areas, 5 habits, which I think is very, very critical that we should wrap them in our brains so that then we can be able to get to achievement. Remember, I keep on telling my clients, my friends, and those who are I'm coaching, that common sense is not always common practice. And indeed, what I've told you is not common practice. You need to be able to wrap it in your lives, and more so, especially during that time. And remember, excellence is a habit. Excellence is a habit. it is not an act. Many of us still believe that excellence is an act. I tell you, it is a habit. And it comes with time. Unfortunately, it takes 7 years, as far as I'm concerned, of consistency and discipline. And when you do that, my friends, you will be able to get there, because that is what matters. And don't be cheated. It doesn't matter what gender you are. It doesn't matter how much money you've got. It doesn't matter how age you are. It's not about nature. Those are things that I call of nature. It's not about your DNA. It's about what you are nurturing. So it's about nurturing. What is it that you want to pick in your life? And then you can be able to take it to the next level. So finally, guys, let's not coronavirus steal your dreams. We do have dreams, and we must be able to push those dreams. And at the end, we'll come out strong, because that's how to be extraordinary.